Tonight, we're digging into the details after day 3 of jury selection in the murder trial of Travis McMichael, Greg McMichael, and William Bryan. Still with me are clinical and forensic psychologist Dr. Tracy Joseph and former prosecutor Titus Nichols. All right, so Brunswick, Georgia, where all of this is happening, is nearly 70% white. And most of the prospective jurors we heard from today were white. But we did hear from several black residents. Here's an exchange between the defense and prospective juror number 164, a black woman, about Ahmaud Arbery. She said, quote, "I thought they railroaded him. It was almost like a lynching to me. They just wanted to hang him. When asked if she could set that aside, she said it would be hard. When asked if she will try, she said again, it would be hard." Titus, you know, as a prosecutor, former prosecutor, when we would get answers like, or even a defense attorney, when you would get a juror saying things like, "I think I can, I'll try, I don't know," you know, you'd use the example of, or at least I did, when you were on a plane, say going to Vegas, and the pilot says, "I think I can get you to Vegas." We'd have a problem with that. We'd be deboarding, right? We want to get off that plane. We want to nail them down to an answer, but why dig any deeper? This prospective juror said she doesn't think that she could set that aside. Why go any further?
Well, the issue that the defense has to be mindful of is, with Glenn County being 70% white and your minority jurors being 30%, they have to be mindful of what's known as a Batson challenge. Whereas if you use too many of your strikes to get rid of jurors, and the majority of those strikes are for minority or black jurors, the prosecution can make an objection to the judge and say that your strikes were racially based. So the defense has to ask a whole bunch of questions to find out, is this person truly biased? Because even if the defense raises the issue and saying, well, I think this juror cannot set aside their bias, the judge has the ability to do what's called rehabilitate the juror by simply asking, can you put aside your bias? Can you be a fair and impartial juror? Can you decide the case just on the evidence? And if the jurors, most of the time the jurors they figure out the judge is asking them a serious question, so they'll give a serious answer. If the juror says, yes, I can put all that aside and base my verdict just on the evidence, the judge is more inclined to let that juror stay on if that juror is selected for the jury.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about something one of the supporters outside of the courtroom told our BNC crew. A woman who drove 4 hours to be there said, quote, "When it comes to people of color, it's always the victim that's on trial and not the people accused of the crime." I want you both to reflect on that and how significant this case is for the health of this country and our community in particular. Titus, you first.
I agree with her completely. I mean, just pick any case involving a black person, an unarmed black person being shot and killed by the law enforcement or some overzealous citizen. It's always an issue of, well, what did that person do? You think about Trayvon Martin, where there was an issue about there was trace amount of marijuana in his system. That had absolutely nothing to do with George Zimmerman stalking him and killing him. But again, the victim is always put on trial first, and their credibility is always attacked by the defense because the defense wants to raise the issue that, oh, well, maybe this was an angry black man or angry black woman, so this defendant had no choice. They feared for their life, which is always the catchphrase. They feared for their life, so that's why they shot an unarmed person. In this situation, it's no different. However, the law in Georgia is very particular about when you can introduce negative evidence against the victim. Particularly, the defense is going to have to show that they knew that Mr. Arbery had some type of mental issue and that mental issue had anything to do with them jumping in the back of a truck and chasing him down like Boss Hogg from Dukes of Hazzard. That's a very high burden that they're going to have to overcome evidentiary, and I don't know what they're going to use that will be able to convince the judge that they should be allowed to introduce any reference to Mr. Arbery's mental condition.